Welcome to the Explainer. Guys, we have reached an absolutely breathless point in the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and I am so thrilled to break down exactly what's happening right now. We've seen unbelievable drama, legendary superstars totally defying their age, and some of the most stunning upsets in the entire history of international football. The quarterfinals are finally set, and today we're going to unpack all the chaos, the record-breaking performances, and the hard data that's predicting who will actually take on the trophy. So who's actually going to win this thing? It's literally the single biggest question in global sports right now. With so many heavyweights clashing and underdogs pulling off absolute miracles, the answer is nowhere near as obvious as it seemed just a few weeks ago. So we're going to look at the facts, the stats, and the supercomputer models to figure it out together.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to break this down into 4 key areas. First, the co-hosts crashing out. Second, chasing the golden boot. Third, we'll ask who is the actual favorite. And finally, we'll map out the quarterfinal stage.
Section 1. The co-hosts crash out, and the end of the home advantage. For the first time in an expanded World Cup, we've reached the decisive stages without a single host nation left alive. You know, coming into the knockouts for this massive 48-team tournament, the hype in the US, Canada, and Mexico was absolutely off the charts. But home advantage just wasn't enough. It's a brutal reminder of the unforgiving nature of knockout football. All the energy of a passionate home crowd just cannot save you if you make mistakes on the pitch. The exits were just swift and ruthless. The USA took a heavy 4-1 defeat after Belgium really exposed their defense in the second half. Mexico? Well, despite that insane crowd support, they fell in a crazy 5-goal thriller, edged out 3-2 by a super clinical England side. And Canada, after that historic first-ever trip to the round of 16, saw their fairy tale shut out 3-0 by a highly disciplined Morocco. Just like that, the North American dream was over.
Section 2. Chasing the golden boot and the superstar battles.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how impossibly tight this race is at the very top. While the team results have been total chaos, the global superstars are putting on an absolute clinic. We are looking at a spectacular 3-way tie, practically dominating the headlines. Lionel Messi is currently leading the entire tournament with 8 goals, but Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland are breathing right down his neck, sitting on 7 goals each. And this number 3 right here is monumental. Why? Because this is the very first time in the entire history of the World Cup that 3 different players have scored 7 or more goals in a single edition of the tournament. The offensive firepower we are witnessing this summer is literally unprecedented. Let's zoom in on Lionel Messi's run for a second because it reads like a Hollywood script. He opens up with a hat trick against Algeria, becoming the oldest player ever to do that at 38 years old, then drops 2 goals on Austria. Follows it up by coming off the bench to score a beautiful free kick against Jordan, and in the round of 16, he delivers an 83rd-minute equalizer to spark that improbable comeback against Egypt. He has now scored in 9 consecutive World Cup matches. The sheer magnitude of this is wild. Messi hasn't just been great, he's completely rewritten the history books. With his performance, he just set the all-time record with 21 career World Cup goals. That makes him the highest goal scorer across both men's and women's World Cup history. Absolutely legendary. But hey, the new generation is not going quietly. Kylian Mbappe just reached 19 career World Cup goals, pushing past Miroslav Klose for the second most in men's history. Meanwhile, Erling Haaland is single-handedly forging brand new history for his country. I mean, netting 2 goals in a blistering 11-minute span to drag Norway to its first-ever quarterfinal? Insane. Section 3. Who is the favorite? Man versus machine. We know who the star players are, but when we shift from the pitch to the predictive data, things get really tense. Check out this quote from the analytical YouTube channel The 48, which simulates the tournament 20,000 times. The favorite just changed yesterday. There is a new team most likely to win the whole thing. The unpredictability of these knockout rounds means that the mathematical models are fiercely recalibrating every single day. And there is a massive contrast right now between human sentiment and cold hard math. According to OddsChecker, the betting public absolutely loves England, handing them 20% of the total bets thanks to a pretty favorable draw. But the predictive supercomputers from Opta and the 48, they completely ignore that sentiment. Their strength metrics and simulations heavily favor France and Spain to take the crown. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the math breaks down. Looking at Opta's supercomputer probabilities, France leads the pack with a 27.1% chance to win it all. Spain is right behind them at 22.1%, England drops down to third with a 17% chance, and the defending champions Argentina sit at 14.6%. So, the machine clearly sees Europe dominating the top tier.
Now, how does that translate to real money? Over on OddsChecker, France is sitting at plus 180, meaning they're the heavy favorites with a lower payout. Spain's at plus 375, Argentina plus 450, and England at plus 550. But look at that bottom row. Norway at a massive plus 1,700. Driven by Holland's heroics and a rock-solid defense, they've officially emerged as the ultimate dark horse in the eyes of the odds makers.
Section 4, the quarterfinal stage, and the road ahead.
Let's move to and see how this builds into the actual matchups you need to be watching. Looking at the first two massive games, on July 9th, France takes on Morocco, and Opta gives the French a massive 71.5% chance to advance. The very next day, on July 10th, Spain meets Belgium, with Spain holding a dominant 70.3% probability. Statistically speaking, the models see a very clear path forward for both France and Spain in these early ties. But July 11th is where things get super tense. England faces Norway, and while England is favored at roughly 62%, that still leaves a very healthy 37% chance for a Norwegian upset. It's almost the exact same story for Argentina versus Switzerland later that day. The margins here are significantly tighter, and considering the form of these underdogs, really, anything is on the table. And seriously, we cannot write off those underdogs, because just look at what they have already accomplished. Norway literally stunned the record winners Brazil. Belgium dominated and knocked out the US. Switzerland survived a tense penalty shootout to eliminate Colombia. And Morocco brilliantly shocked a surging Canadian squad. These teams know exactly how to ruin a favorite's day. If we strictly follow the data and the most likely outcomes, the models point to an absolute heavyweight semifinal setup. France taking on Spain on one side, and England clashing with Argentina on the other. That is the statistical baseline, the ultimate chalk scenario of the most powerful footballing nations left on the board. But as we all know by now, football is not played on a spreadsheet, so I'll leave you with this. Will the cold, hard supercomputer predictions actually hold true, or is the absolute chaos of the 2026 World Cup about to deliver us another historic bracket-busting upset? Keep your eyes on the pitch, guys, because we are about to find out. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and enjoy the quarterfinals.